Hello and welcome to episode number 11 of the Matt Belair podcast. Today's guest is an absolute mind-blowing visionary, and I'm so excited to chat with him. He is a cultural pioneer and the social architect behind Delphi Village. His 30-year career in aviation includes 12 years as an enlisted aircrew member and military pilot, a commercial airline captain and instructor pilot, and the Director of Publications and Information Technology during the startup of Frontier Airlines. He began educating himself and developing sustainable, intentional communities in 2011. Having received training and experience through establishments such as Occidental Arts and Ecology Center, Living Mandala's Transition Town Training, and the Tribal Convergence Network, he is now putting all of his energy, genius, and efforts toward a truly world-changing vision in Delphi Village. Welcome to the show, my brother, the incredible Mr. Sean Brown.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, man. How you doing?
Thanks for having me, man.
Oh, my pleasure. Hey, did I get is it Occidental Village? Is that how you say it? I forgot to ask you.
Occidental Arts and Ecology Center.
Right. Okay, cool. So I think to get started, your background's amazing. I've only known you for a short time, and it's been quite a roller coaster of awesomeness. Learning about your path, I got introduced to you from your future of what's coming, which is the best. But also your past and some of the things you've done are also super incredible. So can you give people, if you can do this, like a brief summary about some of the stuff you've done and where you're going?
Sure. Thanks. And yeah, the best is definitely yet to come. The stuff we're doing at Delphi Village and everybody that's involved, that is truly what we're here for. The journey getting there is quite fun. I'm 49, I'll be 50 in February. So I've had a little bit of time on the planet. I started in the military when I was 17. I was an enlisted aircrew member on C-130s for 6 years. And then I did the lateral move into the cockpit and became a pilot on C-130s. And then in 1994, my family and I started up Frontier Airlines. Obviously, that was a larger startup than my family. It was only my father was the one who came up with the inception with Bob Schulman, and then together they put together the team, which included my stepmother, vice president of HR, and myself, director of publications and IT. And we put together that airline in about 3.5 months, from March until, I want to say we launched in the beginning of July of '94. And then I flew on the line there for a short period of time, and then went over to United Airlines and had a 20-year career with United. Was an instructor pilot over there, was a captain in Chicago, was 747 pilots through the Pacific and out over Europe, and just recently quit doing that about 2 years ago when I started doing the Delphi Village operation.
Amazing, man. And yeah, so when you went through all of that, then you started to look at sustainable communities, right? And that's when you got into Occidental Village and the tribal network and all that.
Yeah, there's a big jump, there's a big gap in that, because the process of going from a youth into being a military fighting member, when you're in your teens, you go through a very materialistic physical close down or three-dimensional, putting yourself into a box to understand how to quickly react to these things. And so I spent many, 15 years in the military and then into the airlines before, somewhere around 2007, I had an awakening that was quite radical because I was so in the box. The shift to a newer perspective was quite stark. The contrast was very intense, which can make it harder as you're going to have the transition. But once you awaken into the newer perspective, the recency of contrast makes it much easier for you to understand not only your position, but the positions of others around you, and helps you integrate yourself and others much more rapidly, I feel. So in 2007, I had that awakening and got on a journey of self-discovery. I ended up marrying a shaman's apprentice. My family and I produced many ceremonies, plant spirit medicine journeys, that process certainly opened me up, connecting me to many things I certainly wasn't connected to when I was in the military and Air Force and the airlines. And then in 2011, over the solstice and Christmas, I started kind of receiving an idea of the unsustainability of living in Las Vegas in the desert. And so prior to having any knowledge of permaculture or regenerative systems or anything like that at all, I looked at a map and said, where did it make sense to move to start a regenerative way of living? And my finger found its way to Redding, California. So through 2012 and 13, a number of us got together and started working on a project called Kailasa. It was a 1,200 acre project in Bella Vista, just outside of Redding, California, just south on the south shore of Lake Shasta and about 60 miles south of Mount Shasta. And that was intending to be primarily a residential community with several hundred families and an entire ecosystem on there. And that process is what drove me to figure out how to get into the whole permaculture and regenerative systems and agriculture and all of that. And in that process, as I was learning how to go from a consumer to sustainability to, excuse me, I'm just gonna.
Yeah, sorry, man. So hold on, I'm going to put it on his screen here while we wait, because there. As I had the dead air, I was going to be like, everybody can just look at that crazy background. We'll get into that a little bit, but yeah, I can continue to go with what you're talking about with Kailasa.
Yeah, the cats like to come in and out. And
yeah,
out.
They don't respect the rules of a podcast at all. I don't know why. All right, keep going, man.
Let's see. So, let's see. Trying to get back on track of where we were in the whole.
So, Kailasa, you're talking about building Kailasa and all the
Gotcha.
stuff that you learned in sustainability.
Gotcha. So, yeah, in 2012 and 13, I spent better part of that time developing Kailasa, and that project led me to understand the need for developing a regenerative economic model. I had worked on figuring out how to go from being a consumer to sustainable, and then on into being a producer of energy, of food, of water, of all of the different systems that we live on. And yet I had not figured out how to have a regenerative economic model. And then in February of 2014, I was in Las Vegas. And from 2003 through 2007, I took a break from flying with United, and I became a top producing real estate agent during the boom here and the beginning of the bust in Las Vegas. And I was actively involved in working on residential real estate, primarily doing house flips and stuff like that for a bunch of the other airline pilots, and then for people in the public. And that led me to looking at larger vacant land deals. And I was looking at 100 acres and then 155 acres in Clark County, about 30 minutes outside of Las Vegas. A cannabis cultivation operation was looking for a grow facility, and we were looking at spec building one. And this is, again, 30 minutes outside, so we felt that we were going to be able to easily get the approvals for it. And when I got out there, it turned out that the Clark County's assessor's office had mapped the property, and it showed that it was on a much flatter parcel. That's why I drove out there, because I thought that it was flatland. And when the owner took me out there and we drove past where the topographicals showed that it was the flatland, and I'm reading, this is where it's supposed to be, and he keeps driving. I'm like, where are we going? He's like, no, this is the land over there, not this. And I look at it, it's this awesome, it's the foot of Nob Hill, so it's this awesome, elevation that's got all these natural amphitheaters, and it's like 200 yards off of a vista from looking down at the Colorado River. We're at like 4,000 feet, and the Colorado River is at 6,000 feet. So when you walk up off our property about maybe 200 yards, you get to see this thing down there, 3,500 feet below you, so blew me away, just totally blew me away. The rock stacks around it are like, red rocks here in Las Vegas, and a bit different than the Red Rocks in Morrison, Colorado, but certainly just as spectacular. And I realized quickly that this was natural amphitheaters. And then all of a sudden, the frequency and volume of that made sense to me. I was like, oh my gosh, if we had people out here camping for 3 days and they were, tickets were like $200 or something, and they're paying for camping and they're paying for food and beverage and liquor and outdoor adventures and all that kind of stuff, you're basically capturing $200 to $400 a person. And that's not including the glamour camping and all of the other big upsells that you can have out here. So when I did the math on $200, $300, $400 a person for 5,000 to 10,000 people, you were looking at revenue in the several $million each weekend. And then I was realizing if we had a festival out here on one weekend and we left everything up and we had another festival and just reskinned it with a different genre, we could get another couple thousand people out there. And each weekend you're bringing in this much revenue, but you're amortizing the cost over the cost of all of the setup material. You amortize it over months, if not years, if not just permanently, right? That's the way theme parks can get away with doing that. And so basically realized the model for a music festival theme park. But what that did then really is it opened my mind up to, okay, well now we have a location where you've got 5,000 to 10,000 people potentially coming through each weekend. What do you do with those people? I mean, certainly you can entertain them and try to find ways to take their money, but that's just the normal business model, right? So we're looking at the new evolved way of doing this. And what I realized is that if we've got 5,000 people coming out there and we've got all of these awesome regenerative systems and all of these EEG biometric feedback systems and all that kind of stuff, why not have events that are going to be of 5,000 to 10,000 people that are going to want to be interested in the things that we're developing and incubating and showcasing here on Delphi? So we realized quickly that we were building an incubator, and it's an emergent technology showcase. So we can, when we have our atmospheric water generators, we got Mark Shirk's cryogenic atmospheric water generator that may be coming out here. That's $1.5 million prototype of a water generator that can generate, a couple thousand gallons of water every day just out of the air, and when people ask, why are you building something out in the middle of the desert? It's like, why wouldn't we? I mean, we have all the systems today. We don't need to be hooked up to the grid. We don't need to be hooked up to the sewer systems. All of those things are consumerism driven, scarcity driven stuff. We're looking at how to become regenerative. We want to be off grid. And so the answer to the water solution is atmosphere. I mean, there's rivers of water in the sky, and all you have to do is figure out how to stick a net up there and bring it down. It's there. The islands in Hawaii are completely desolate because they have no water because of the way the rain falls out and the wind blows it off. And yet there's water everywhere. All they have to do is just, stick these big nets up in the air and pull the water out. And that's what we have. We found these, all these emergent technologies that people think are of the future and stuff like that have all just been, for economic reasons, it's not brought to the forefront. And now is a time where a lot of those things are starting to make it out to market. So we figure, why not take all of the best and stack them, all of the best energy systems and all of the best water systems and all of the best agricultural systems. And we're buying them, or we're using them for ourselves. But the ones that are actually working out, we end up saying, hey, this one worked, these sucked, this one worked, I would recommend you buy that. And then we send them off and we're able to become a showcase and an affiliate for them. So that's how we incubate.
Totally. Yeah. It's going to be the best testing ground ever, the middle of the desert.
Ground. Totally. And it's a proving ground, because frankly, I'm tired of hearing of all the hoopla stuff, because I've worked with 0-point technologies that are real, and I know it, and I've been playing with it and getting the output and stuff like that. And then I hear all these other things and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then when I start looking, I'm like, yeah. So I'm all for having anybody that thinks they've got something amazing that'll blow people away. I'd love to be one of those locations where they come and show us and blow us away. But I'm also here to be as transparent as possible. And when it gets, when their theory blows up in their face, good. So then we know all these other people that had those same ideas of trying to dedicate those resources to try to do that same thing can see, nope, don't need to do it that way. Hey, yeah, we can do it that way. You get 20% efficiency. Oh yeah, but you got 220% efficiency over there. Well, let's do that. Waste of resources,
Totally. And now we're just starting to touch on Delphi Village, because this is the way that you're going. And you figured out you were learning, and all of these different ways to create, water, sustainable living, and not only sustainable, but regenerative, which is massive. So you start from the core of like actual humanity is like, what do we need? Food, water, shelter. Okay, let's start with those things. And then you're researching and you're learning all this amazing stuff. And then the last little tiny bit is the money model, because right now money is the modern form of slavery. It's got
currency. Well, yes, it is the modern word, but I get you there. But it's the current. It is just like the water, the flow, right? So I hear you though. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No, definitely touch on because I never heard it put that way, and it was so magical. So that was the thing that you in your idea needed, the last piece.
Right.
So now you're coming in and you were able to figure out how to monetize all of this, and like how we can create and the heart and the core of this is of service. That's what I'm at your, Adam Crims, your business partner. We're doing this I'm going to be over to your house later, and we met because I saw some of your drawings and they're just mind blowing. For a mutual friend, I was like, I have to know who this guy is. Like, I'm able to touch on, I'm like, okay, the void and like Akashic records, and then, proton, neutron, electron. I'm like, I don't know, like you can't just make this stuff up. So I needed to speak to you. But the core of this project is all service. Nothing has to do with money, but money or currency, as you're about to explain, is an energy that we are dealing with. So then that was the last piece we needed to solve to put all the money. If you and I owned 2 oil companies and we were like, hey, maybe we should stop doing this and ruining Mother Earth and pissing her off and having a ridiculous amount of wealth, like how about we like start steering this into stuff that matters? But unfortunately, the people with a lot of power, and it's okay, because if I had $1 trillion and I was born that way, maybe I wouldn't be so generous. You know what I mean? Like maybe it would just be like, I'm gonna take this. So it's not even that. It's about not fighting an old system,
right,
and creating a new one, and that's our job and that's our mission. And so now I'll let you chime in with what your view is on money and currency, because it is magic, man.
Thank you.
Go for it.
Well, as part of the process of self-discovery and personal alchemy, you start to understand that everything has its place in life, and you understand the low frequencies are just as necessary to a complete existence as the high frequencies. It's very much like a piano. You wouldn't want a piano that didn't have the lower half of the keys to be able to play those low notes, and your life needs the low notes and the high notes. And so it is easy to understand why many of us, we've been conditioned to believe that we are these little organisms that are running through essentially cause and effect, or a random generator machine out here, and that we might be able to live life with, if we're fortunate, we'll live a life where everything's good, and we'll minimize where things are bad, and then when we die, then we've basically won the game because we've had a better life than not a better life. And frankly, just the existence doesn't work that way. The way that a non-dual source gives rise to an experience of duality like this requires a necessary yin-yang balance. There's a perfect balance in everything, in every concept in existence. And so if you are seeking out good all of the time, basically if good is that direction and all you're doing is seeking good, you've got a bunch of dark or bad, or however you want to look at the other side of the polarity, chasing behind you. If you learn as you're moving forward to embrace the good and also occasionally turn around and move that direction into the darkness and face it, it's the concept of learning to choose the devil with whom you're going to dance, right? Other than that, you're going to seek out all the light and go this direction, and then when you go to bed at night, the darkness is hiding underneath your bed or in your closet or whatever. And if you learn through processes such as maybe ayahuasca, you could learn to start looking at the darkness on occasion. And when you do, you learn alchemy. You learn how to transform these dark things into this lead into gold, this low frequencies into high. And then you realize, oh crud, if I didn't have these low frequencies, I wouldn't have anything to transform into gold. So it'd be kind of a dull life. That's why we are down here in this dance in sin. Our ascendance is a dance in sin, which is part of your astrology, that discusses the character of your 3D nature, or what you're going to be doing down here in this sin dance, as opposed to your sun sign, which is your soul, which is your 4D component, and your monad, which is your moon sign, which is your 5D spirit. And those are your compositions down here kind of running down. And that 3D existence is not a negative aspect of it. It's just one side of that polarity. So I'm taking a little bit of time trying to explain why why there's necessary for the shadow, because when we get to currency, when we get to money and moneta, we find it because of the way it's been used. Currency, the word current is about flow, and current basically describes flux, or the feminine side of existence. When you're looking at form, the form that's over on this side, which is the masculine side of existence, each layer of form has its own particular geometry that it's built upon. But when you're talking about the flow, the flux or anything like that, that's the feminine side. And there's only one shape or flow to the feminine side on all scales. And that's basically the shape of a torus. So the energy flows in. And right now we're used to things as a pyramid, because if duality, and we only got this lower half, we look at this torus and we, like a vacuum cleaner, we're sucking up all the energy up here and piling it up to this pyramid top. But what we're trying to do is build this torus. A torus looks like this on the bottom, but the torus looks like this on the top. And so what we're trying to do is blow the energy up through it, so that way then it goes out to the top and finds its way back to the bottom again, so that it can rise back up. And that's how a torus is able to grow. So that's basically all flow, all current, all energy flows in that form. And currency, and the way we use it as dollars and money, is exactly the same thing. There's a pyramid, the way that the money flows. But if you find the way that the money flows and you flip that bit, so that way it starts flowing in a toroidal fashion, that money becomes the energy that causes this to build infinitely. So we have in this current scenario where we are seeing things dualistically, where we don't appreciate both sides of the polarities to understand how to utilize them like a battery. When we see certain things as negative and certain things as positive, then we're only looking at the bottom end of this pyramid, and necessarily some of our greatest tools are going to be the greatest weapons. But by learning how to properly get the flow of money into that toroidal pattern again, money and currency is going to once again be our greatest friend. So I do understand why now that, the way you looked at it as the tool, or whatever you were describing it in a negative fashion, because the way it is currently being used by the Federal Reserve System and the 13 families and all that kind of stuff is truly abusing the power that goes along with it. But frankly, the tidal wave is here, and there's thousands of us that are figuring this out, and thousands of people who are getting onto that. And those systems are buy-in systems, and we're already watching BRICS not buy into the dollar any longer, and humans aren't going to buy into fiat currency much longer. And then when we get back, currency will be real again. Currency will have, when I say real, it'll have meaningful value that we can all be comfortable agreeing upon,
Dude, yeah, I love that. So, whoa, okay, there's so much in there I wanted to add on. And we unfortunately only have an hour this time, and it's so deep. You're definitely coming on again, and we're going to talk more amazing stuff, because we could pick one thing with you and just go into it, back and forth. So one thing I like that you talked about is the challenge, or say the darkness, right? So many people will say, like, my darkest time was my greatest teacher, right? So we're trying to ignore these dark times, and that's what allows you. I love your expression, turning what into gold? Like
lead into gold. It's alchemy.
Yeah, lead into gold. Yeah, exactly. So that allows us to grow as we face our challenges as they come. Doesn't mean we need to dwell in them. It means, like, okay, here's a challenge. What can I learn from this? I got to go through it. I'm going through it anyway. So we, go full Zen mode and surrender. This sucks, but what am I going to learn? How's this gonna grow? So now I wanted to move into, because this is all, super important for the core of what this is, right? The philosophy behind what Delphi Village is.
Yep.
Now, the best part about all this, about the currency, about the new way, about the consciousness, is nobody said it didn't have to be the most fun, epic, tremendous, loving hug, hippie, whatever you want, kindness, connection, acceptance, freaking exploration, you know what I mean? And then so what you're building is, music festival theme park. We have it, you haven't even mapped it, like
right?
transformational epic center. So the currency of awesomeness is coming in, and you're like, dude, you want to have the greatest time ever with people who just love and accept you for no reason. And by having a whole crap ton of fun, we're going to build regenerative systems. We're going to put money into think tanks. We're going to look at permaculture. We're going to look at everything and cultivate and bring together the smartest minds and all this. And when we're sitting there and we're having these conversations, you're going to have wellness on the land, right? You're going to have yoga studios. You're going to building earth ships. You're going to feature experts. Come on in. Like, what do you got for sustainable living? Like, here, we give you this, right? You got a team of experts, engineers, these young bucks, 18 years old, 20 years old, whatever, going super smart. That, you know, they're downloading stuff. They're like, yeah, give me a shot. Like, I got this, you know?
Yeah.
And how the currency comes in of like, hey, yeah, there's so much. Anyone who's gone to a transformational festival like Burning Man, like Lightning in a Bottle, they're all over the world. And people, and I wrote an article on burners.me, and it's on my website, Theory and Frequency and Vibration. And when you come back from Burning Man, they call it the decompression. And it's, for me, it's like, dude, you're going from like a higher dimension of frequency or density or amazingness into a lower one. So imagine every day you're around a community, loving, accepting, you know, like you go and you think you're lost in the ocean, and you come back and all your family and friends are there and they're loving and hugging you and like, oh, I thought you were dead. It's a very high light feeling. You know, you're feeling accepted and loved. And then you go to people who like want to do you harm, the wrong part of town, or the bar is very low and it's like energetic. And when you talk about you know, scarcity, that's what we live in, scarcity and competition and all of this thing. And we're now going into a world and an environment where it's gifting, where it's love, where it's service. And Delphi Village is all service. And that's the idea behind it. And so when you go to these festivals and you're seeing this, yes, it's temporary, but you feel it and you're getting the frequency of it. And like, okay, maybe it's not possible. Maybe it's not permanent now. And people can say, oh yeah, it's not permanent. That's just a week or whatever. It changes people. And you and I both know this. It changes people forever, right? It's a full-on psychedelic experience, completely sober. So then you have this idea and you're going like, well, you know, does it need to be just a week? Like, could we just keep doing this and then build from this energetic vortex of all of those amazing things that come in? Because there's consciousness, self-development, sustainability, wellness, you know, all your yogis, come on down, you know, all your tech guys, come on down, all your permaculture guys, come on down, all you guys who love music and want to dance and just be merry, come on down. And then how about we all be friends and we learn from each other and we balance ourselves. And that's one thing that I'm learning as I grow. You know, I definitely knew that I didn't have it all figured out, that's for sure. But I was like, I got a lot. Like, I'm, you know, I had this one side, but it's all this spiritual going into the void. And now as I'm meeting all these tech people, all these structure people, it's like, you know what? I like, thank you guys, because I'm now building all of this side of me that I kind of rejected before because school really pissed me off and I kind of rejected structure, right? But I learned a lot from martial arts, but it was all self-body development, mind and spirit. But now because of these different skills coming in, we work together. And so why don't you talk about some of like the awesomeness and fun that's going to be there to cultivate this bigger loop that we now are talking about and the intention behind it.
Wow. Yeah. A big part of this is that this is got its roots in that Kailasa operation in Northern California. So the real operation here has been founded, you know, on sustainable intentional community development. And the idea of this music festival theme park is something that is on top of it, or is, you know, is a component of it, but it's not the thing. There are a number of events out there, awesome events and great production teams and stuff like that, that are looking at moving from being a pop-up, you know, once a year, twice a year, 4 times a year type of event into being something more permanent, kind of like what Shambhala's got up in Canada. And yet there's a difference between figuring out how to pull off a week work together and building this, you know, temporary community, and then building a community that's going to live together and grow together and transform together over, you know, permanently over years. And again, that's not to deprecate the larger events that take, you know, several months together planning and they're working together, but we are planning on having thousands of people out there, you know, weekends at the beginning as frequently as we can on the weekends, but there really isn't a reason to not be having things out there every day of the week. And so we're building a tiny town, as it were. It's very much like Disneyland. It's exactly like Epcot Center. Kent Bingham and several of the Imagineers from Disney that designed and built Epcot Center are involved in this project. So it is very much as building an entire city and theme park and all of that kind of stuff. So it is very important, at least to me and to those of us that are on this core team here, that we're coming from this intentional community background than a corporate, trying to build yet another large company. And an example of that is exactly how we've structured this. Delphi Village, which is right now essentially a 155-acre location here in Las Vegas, is one location that we're building as an independent operation, but there's another entity out there that is assisting the development of this, and that's called SymbioNet, which stands for Symbiotic Network. And SymbioNet is essentially the without compared to Delphi's within, or SymbioNet is the above, macro, compared to the below, micro, that Delphi is. And Delphi itself is not being owned by SymbioNet. SymbioNet's job is to basically make sure that the environment is good for Delphi. It's looking for strategic partners to develop, like Festivo or Spirit Hoods, or any of these festival-oriented or community-oriented businesses that could symbiotically help us, and we could help them. Very much like a hippopotamus and a bird, or the shark and the fish that swim around it. There is that relationship that they both have, the mutual helpful relationship, and that's what SymbioNet's job is to do, is to go out and find these partners that can help SymbioNet develop. So when we come online, we have all of these relationships, and all of our relationships help them, and all their relationships help us. And so SymbioNet isn't owning any of those companies. It's going in and it's providing basically incubation and advice and helping recruit their C-level team, or helping doing their business plans or fundraising or whatever. Because as soon as Festivo comes online and they have a much larger following, that brings in more traffic to and awareness to Delphi Village and all the operations we're doing out there. And so instead of having Walt Disney go out and build Disneyland and Disney World and Disney Tokyo and owning all of these things, then having that whole mess out there, we're building it more almost like in a corporate tribe, where it's like a family in a sense, because Delphi is going to come online. It's going to generate a couple $1 million on the larger events each weekend and stuff. And with the excess revenue, that is, the investors will get paid back and the distribution shares will be paid out. But there's a considerable amount of revenue that comes out of that. And the objective is to use that to build a network of 26 of these locations. And so when the Delphi goes and generates enough revenue to build one in Flagstaff or Phoenix or San Diego or whatever, and they go and build it, it's very much like a parent is sending a child to college. And let's say we do the San Diego event, the San Diego location next. We send, our DNA, we send our crew down there and our template to go off and start up the location, but it's going to be adapted to the people that show up, and it's adapted to the climate and terrain and the opportunities that are in each location. And very much like a child, when they go to school, once they're done with school, they are their individual, they've gone from adolescence into adulthood. And that's what we're trying to do. And the next step after that is, once they've become adults when they've paid off their college tuition, which is their startup fees to Delphi. But then they've got the same kind of revenue model. They're generating funds, and they can go and start one down in, let's just say, Baja, Mexico, or up in the Bay Area. And now the second generation goes and starts a third generation, and it's based on similar values, and it's using similar functions that we've used at Delphi, but it's like a grandchild of that. And so it allows it to develop on its own in a healthy manner, rather than having this on model, the same experience in Anaheim as you'd find in Tokyo, as you'd find in Orlando, as you'd find anywhere else. So it's the way of taking the best of this effective organization that corporations have come up with, but then going back to our tribal roots, doing things the right way and intuitively working and doing things for other than rational reasons or other than monetary reasons, doing them because you intuitively know that this is the way you're supposed to do them. And that's the alchemy of what we're doing here. That's what, if there's anything we're doing new, It's stacking all of these same things that have been around for years and just using them in this toroidal fashion. So that way it is, we're capturing the currency that we talked about before, and instead of losing it to other, large corporations like Cisco or Nevada Energy or one of these other larger partners, we're sending that revenue to our strategic partners or to our other divisions or other companies so that we capture that currency and grow off of it. The biggest part of this, I suppose, is the cooperative. Because we're not owned by Disney and Disney, we don't have a big ownership structure. Delphi Village itself is owned by everybody that's here, that's building it. And that's the way we intend to do it. On this first one, we will probably be working with larger equity, and we'll probably have to work with some equity structuring with venture capital, traditional venture capital route. However, once that is taken care of, or once this one is going to have its own deal, but any of the subsequent locations won't need that or shouldn't need that. We should be able to provide the revenue for that and allow them to be purely cooperative share owned. And that way, when we make money on these ventures or the whole operation is thriving and abundant, everybody that had a part in it is going to benefit from it on a fair process. I wouldn't say equal. And meritocracy is closer towards where it is, but meritocracy has its very specifics, and this is more towards that. It's just the right way to be doing it.
Yeah, dude, I love that. Okay, so I want to kind of summarize in the way that my mind is filtering this, because like I said, I came across this project maybe 2 weeks ago or less.
Yeah.
Talk to you. I'm going across Canada. I'm going from Vancouver to freaking Toronto, and then above Calgary. I talked to Adam. He's like, dude, you should come down, just check this out. And I just get a little bit more information. I was like, man, I got this I got to do, and this I got to do, this I got to do. And I instantly click into what is happening. I'm like, holy smokes. So then I drive 18 hours straight down to come to Vegas.
That was awesome. That's totally awesome.
To see you guys. And I was like, it's just too good. It's okay. So let me summarize it.
So finish that off. Cause when you got here, how many how many people are here? I mean, it's not like you're the only guy that's doing this. This is
totally not right.
Every day somebody shows up like this. It's just amazing. It's like John Galt at the end of Atlas Shrugged. And we all found ourselves in the middle of the field in Colorado, and we're just, what are we going to do? I don't know.
Yeah, so let me just try to explain so people can kind of grasp it and kind of the way that I see it. Hold on, I wrote down some awesome points that you were going through. Okay, so basically it's like little tiny cities. So if you can imagine Burning Man that went all year, and if you've been to Burning Man, you can look it up. There's 10 tenets. Basically, don't be an a-hole. Radical self-expression, inclusion, blah, 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 gifting. It's all service. So your model is of service, right? And so we've got it's busted. We know that. We look around and it's all messed up. So number one, we have to fix ourselves, and we have to figure out a way to survive, to have food, water, shelter, and then to thrive. So you're creating this on literal city planning, permaculture, water, eco, and all that kind of stuff, using a really fun model that's been super successful. Transformational festivals all over the world. It's gone way up because they're amazing. They're freaking awesome, and everybody's cool. So we can use that to build this. And then you're like a Starbucks location. You're like, hey, Starbucks works. You know what I mean? Boop. So hey, this little city, this little village. So yeah, you keep saying the States, we got to build these in Canada, man. Sure. I'll be the guy coming over to Canada. It's like boop, 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 and I'll be, and it's not even like you're the owner of the Starbucks. The vision is of service. The vision is it has nothing to do with, I'm going to get the Starbucks franchise so I can make a lot of money, and then I'm going to roll down the windows of my Ferrari and I'm going to look super cool. This level of consciousness is so far past that. I keep saying this to a lot of people, that in the conscious world, there is no competition. There is only family. And all of this scarcity and dog eat dog, that's about to go. And some of us are realizing this. And this is what I say, you're kind of the man behind it, but you're very adamant about, it's not me. This vision is beyond me. And you know that. And the team that you have, and that you have attracted. The people that are coming out are just like heavy hitter after heavy hitter after heavy hitter, because they see it.
Yeah.
Right? They see it. And, you know, I'm like, holy. So it's incredible. So I want to do two things because we have about 10 minutes left. One, talk about your amazing team. See if you can do that in 5 minutes. And then two, this crowdfunding campaign that is going to be active by the time people see this, because the idea behind it is, hey, like, you like Burning Man? Like, how if Burning Man as a whole then put money into tech, into permaculture, into ecosystems, into sustainability, into culture, into wellness, into transformation, into yoga, into development. And that's what you're doing, just as a way people can scope it. Tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of dough in Burning Man and transformational festivals. Now we go there and we live these principles, we live this community, we live this acceptance. Now how about we take that money, like you said, and we'll create a torus around it. So as it keeps coming in, it just keeps growing like this and this and this and this and this. And that's when you support the crowdfunding campaign, you support Delphi Village, you're supporting this big vision, and everything on the crowdfunding campaign. This is how we're kind of involved here. I'm going to work a little bit with that. We're going to have the most epic rewards. They're going to be, you're going to want to buy, like, even if you hate consciousness, you do not like community, you do not like fun, you will like all of the rewards. They're going to be dope. But if you're down with the big vision, you're like every part of that. And you guys, I think we're going to try to figure out a way that, you know, your money can go, hey, you put a vote towards permaculture. Hey, you put a vote towards tech. Hey, you're more into transformational and wellness and yoga. You know, I'm the hippie one, so I'm going to be over there. You know what I mean? So I'll put my bucks towards that. But it's showing what world, if you were to create a world that made sense to you, if you were to transform the world for everything that you're looking at out there, you know, what is it? Okay, you know, I'm passionate about food. I'm passionate about eating properly because, you know, food's all messed up. Or I'm passionate about tech because I know tech has the power to do this. Okay, cool. You know, I'm passionate about music and art, and the art out there is going to be just ridiculous. You know, like artists, you know, come together. So yeah, so I'm super fired up. So yeah, definitely, like, this campaign is going to be amazing, and we're going to have amazing experience rewards with incredible people, so you can do just incredible stuff. But your money goes towards what we just talked about at the beginning, a new mother effing world. This is what it is. It's planning and putting all of these things that we've learned, well, more or less you, but we've thought about, and the team. I was like, hey, like, we could city plan, and then boom, that ripple comes. And then as the currency comes in, then we have an idea like, oh, there's an issue over here. We have the team, the resources, the technology, and the information to basically plant and solve that problem when we're putting all of our energy towards solutions and towards something that makes a lot of sense. So tell us a little bit about the team, and then, yeah, and some of the heavy hitters that are on board, because, you know, people that are just incredible, you know, the second they're like, boing, yes, they're just all in.
Yeah, definitely. So we've got the team that's building Delphi Village, and then we've got the team that's coming in to run the festival. And I'm just confirming that it's the case. Yeah, if you go to crowdfounders.org, it has a one of our earlier presentations that we were shopping when we were calling this the Crowdfounders campaign, mostly because everybody that bought a ticket to the event or was buying accommodations or even a t-shirt or whatever, every dollar spent on that campaign is going to found Delphi Village. Because we're doing this event in October, and in focusing all the energy, we've got about $1 million budget for this event, and most of that energy is going into things that can become permanent, rather than doing one of these standard events that has several $100,000 budgets and doing the pop-up and then the strike model and having to go and return all that and have all of the waste. We're going to be able to take, like, even just the permitting alone, we'll be able to file for permanent permits that will allow us to do live entertainment 365 days out of the year with a retreat center and a campground. All of that stuff can be done for pretty much the same amount of money that we're going in to do all of our permitting, licensing, and everything like that for our festival. So it might as well convert this over. And when we do that, everybody who spends $1 on a ticket, everybody who buys a drink at that event, everybody who buys a poster that doesn't even go to the event but buys a poster for that event or whatever, is actually founding Delphi. So we called it the Crowdfounders Festival for quite some time. We're actually shifting the name on it, but it goes to point out that everybody that gets involved is here founding Delphi Village rather than going off and spending money on just another unsustainable pop-up event. So
yeah, and we didn't even, that's amazing. And, you know, I know one thing that you're passionate about, and we would need at least maybe, I don't know, 12 to 15 hour block to go through each element. You know, I've been over at your house with the team, just like absorbing the epicness.
Right.
But one of the things I know you're super passionate about, and you touched on earlier, is the land.
Yeah.
That land is amazing. Like if you just wanted to go camping, you know, me being Canadian, I was like, hey, I'm like going down to Vegas. None of it makes any sense to me. Then I coming down and like, let's go see the land. I look, I'm like, oh my God, like this is going to be amazing. The night sky, you know, no light pollution, you know, you said the whole Milky Way. So having events out there and the wellness center and everything that people contribute to, to create it as a permanent place, it's just going to be incredible. And just to speak on this for people who are getting involved, those heavy hitters out there that have, you know, extra dough and are passionate about this, like have a look at, you know, what it is, right? Because there's so much opportunity for everyone to get involved, because it's nothing. I haven't met one person on the team that has been about them, that are doing this for some sort of personal gain. It's like, you know what? I'm here in the world. The world is pretty messed up. I would like to fix it. This is the thing that I've seen that has the biggest model for that, and it's accepting everybody's input. Please come in, please share. What do you have? You have information? Tell me. You've got a couple bucks? Tell me. You've got, you know, you're a master yogi? Awesome. We can work that in. This is how we can fit you in, you know? And that's what it is. And then it'll allow to spawn off, like you said, all over the world. And the first one is the toughest one. You know, the first one is really where everybody's all in. We're like, this has never been done before. Although all the sequences, the way that I explained it the other day is like, everybody, the MMA, a lot of people are doing karate and jiu-jitsu and all these things, and that's all great. But you're combining them like in a mixed martial arts and say, here's everything together to kind of make a sustainable community that makes sense, that can have this nice ripple outwards.
Right. Totally. I'm gonna share with you some pictures real quick. Hold on a second. See if I can pull this off.
I haven't tried to screen share on there. I hope you do, because I would love to be able to screen share.
Here we go.
Come on, work.
Let's see if this works. Oh wow, yeah. Look at that.
Fractaled in like crazy.
That's really cool. Whatever that was.
What's happening?
I don't know. I'm gonna shut it off. That was really cool.
We're already going through dimensions now.
Can you see that? Can you see this?
Oh yeah, I can.
Okay, great. So this is basically Delphi. We're on the top of Knob Hill on here, and there's a tiny car. Let me see if I can find the car in here. Let me see if I can zoom in.
And just outside of this, right, you have all these ancient inscriptions, like one of the largest collections of what are they?
Yeah, it's Keyhole Canyon. These rocks are incredible. These are boulder stacks that you can go out. You can see these roads through here, and these are giant stacks of boulders in here with caves and tunnels throughout all this stuff. This is Lake Mojave over here in the Colorado River.
It's not showing me. I think there's a delay.
The screen share's off. Is the screen share?
Yeah. There we go. I think I got you live now. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Let me see if I can pull up. Oh, the petroglyphs is what you were talking about. Oh, these are just ridiculous.
Oh, and just, you know, I want to stack it because we only got like 3 minutes, because I know you got to take Orion to school. But man, just even the BeeHive idea. So you're gonna have this BeeHive, you know, and and a drone is gonna take out your food to where you are. So it's gonna marry like sustainability and tech, right? So you order something on your iPad, and then a drone is gonna come and deliver your beer, or you guys put your wedding ring and champagne. It's just gonna be just so good.
Yeah, we're working with Andy von Stauffenberg. He's from the Navy, and he's done a lot of stuff with heavy-duty drones. I mean, they've got payload delivery systems. But we're looking at how to use those systems, right? And so one of the ideas is to build a restaurant that looks like a beehive, and then within a 5-mile radius of those rocks that you were on, you could be looking at the water, sitting there with the woman you want to propose to, and order a bottle of champagne and some meal or whatever. They pack it up. They put it into the drone, and it takes off out of the top of the beehive. You see it take off from here, and it looks like a little bee, black and yellow, you know, and it flies its mile or 3 over to where you're at, lands, drops. You can pop the cork, pop the question, send all the trash back, and it flies it back to the beehive, you know? That's the kind of stuff we're putting on out here. I mean, all these, it's like literally like living in Wonkaville, you know?
100%, dude. And it's, yeah, you know, that was one thing that I kind of grasped around too, because I see, you know, Burning Man and the art and the culture and all that kind of stuff. But really, as we evolve, it is technology that can provide us, it has provided us a lot of freedom and solutions. So now, you know, with natural energies and all these different ways we can do it, as we support that, technology is our friend.
Yeah.
So this place is going to have all of the tech, all of those people in Silicon Valley.
We're
Like,
smart. I mean,
yeah,
seriously, we're emergent
yeah.
technologies beyond. It's not just, it's not the tech that you think that would be cool. We're talking about the stuff that is literally science fiction. Atmospheric water generators using hydrogen separation to generate it, so it generates more water and energy outputs than it consumes. That's like out of science fiction, and yet they're real. All over the world, they're real. And there are reasons why most people haven't heard about them, and it's suppressed economically. And yet, again, the global economic shift is allowing these things to start to break through. It's in the morphogenic field. All of these ideas, whether they're suppressed by, you know, the economic systems or not, they're in the minds of the inventors and of these brilliant people. And because they're in their minds, and that puts it into the morphogenic field. And just being in that same field as they are, it spreads. And if it's not being activated and the existence is begging for it to arise, even the dumbest janitor, the dumbest, gosh, that's not even a good way to say it, the least intelligent person in your community should be able to pull that off, right? You know, so it's just ridiculous the way we've been suppressing these things, and we're showcasing as many of them as we can without trying to draw the ire of those who are going to be economically put out by it.
Yeah, well, it's like that, you know, for the people who had, like, you know, if someone like that is out there and you're watching this and you want to, like, if you had the idea that this wasn't good, this is like Kodak when they didn't want to go to digital, you know?
Right.
They had all of them, they had $1 billion, they had everything, but digital came out and they were like, rather than fighting, get with it, man.
Right.
You know, use the resources. If you're in your oil and you have this money, it's a tough transition. People are going through it in Calgary right now. I saw that coming a long time ago. It's like, oil has to die. Like, I'm not going to judge your choice by going, but I'm not going to want who's going to pick up and frack. I understand why you do it, and I see that. That's okay. But I am not going to do that because I know what it's doing. So now that you've lost your job, good. I know it sucks. I know you have a family. I know you have all this stuff. But this is something we have to go through society-wise. This is what we have to go through as humanity. And I know that you did it for family, and I have compassion, and I love you and all that kind of stuff, but it has to die. We cannot keep crushing the earth so you can drive a big truck and support your family. You have to do it another way. Maybe you have to work at the local grocery store. One of my best friends is a farmer, and he just has the least impact, and he does permaculture, and his life is simple and beautiful, and it's amazing, and he's centered and all that kind of stuff. You know, he's not choosing to go make a bunch of money. And so this is where the transition comes in. We have to do this as humanity. So come on board, support this. This is where we're going, whether you like it or not. It's going to happen. Yeah. And some of us just see it quicker. And yeah, so you may as well get on board, because if you do, oh my God, it's going to be one hell of an epic ride. You know?
Yes, it is. It is. Yes, it is. At the beginning, in all ways of everything, the leading edge, the early adopters, it's always uncomfortable. And even the first, you know, that first third wave, it's always awkward. And there's 2/3 of the people that are always the doubters, and you know, so you're kind of facing the inertia of that. So it is going to be awesome, and it is awesome now. But it is also intense, and it comes with its challenges, and that's what I look for, the lead for the gold. You know, I mean, seriously, it is hard what we're doing, and it is rewarding what we're doing, and it is only hard and rewarding because of the dark stuff that comes with it, and it's natural that it has to be there, or it is a part of duality that it is there, and I'm okay with that, or I'm very happy looking and embracing the shadow as everybody else is, you know, seeing the obvious bright light in front of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just so we do this, everybody out there that is seeing this, that is hearing this, that wants to get involved, please, in any way, get involved. Everybody is welcome. Yeah. Anybody who's looked at the world and be like, this doesn't make any sense. This is something that we're trying to do. We don't have all the answers, but we're trying. We have a lot of information. We have a lot of brilliant minds together. So please come, and any support, even just a thought, just an energetic thought, like just a little like, good job guys, like that counts. We'll take that. You want to get a t-shirt, you want to come to the Crowd Founders campaign, you can want to contribute in a bigger way. And so where can people, they're going to be able to find it at delphivillage.com at this time?
Yep, delphivillage.com is a really good place to go, because it's got a get involved registration form, so it gets to our team here, and then we can start categorizing everybody into the skills that they have and the skills that they're looking to develop. So certainly start there. A really good place to go, I think, is delphivillage.info. It's a presentation package that we've been using for the last, I would say, 6 months, and it's reasonably up to date. We have a new package that's about to come out that's going to be awesome. I love the one that's out there right now, and it is informative. That's why I'm sending you there. The other place to go would be Facebook, Delphi Village. That one is Facebook/Delphi Amphitheater. So those are the different places to get involved. And realize we're looking for everybody. It just takes one person to connect us to that one catalyst or the one source or the one thing that's going to really tip this over, so that way everybody has access to this. Right now, because of the way the resources are, we get people involved, and yet we're resource limited to be able to bring everybody on. And we do have some people that are some strategic partners that are coming in that might be able to provide systems and resources to allow us to start bringing in a whole lot more people as we build this location and the rest of them.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. And just so people know, it's DELPHI village.info. That's how you spell it.
Yep. And I pronounce it Delphi, but it is certainly proper to pronounce it Delphi, which is the more European way.
Okay.
Our resident Bulgarian used to pronounce it that way. He's converted himself, but either way is right.
Yeah, perfect, man. And that's, as more resources come in, it's just only going to grow this vision. It's only, just take your life, you're here on the planet, you look around, it's pretty messed up. We're so lucky that we were trying to find purpose. We were trying to find meaning. We're trying, what am I doing with our life? Everybody has the same purpose. Fix yourself, go through your crap, and then help other people. It's pretty simple. And we have the best opportunity to do it. There's nobody that has no meaning. There's nobody that has no purpose, and this is like creating like a flagship. And it's not even like, oh, this is the thing, like this, come to Disney World because of this. No. Like, this is an idea.
Yep.
And everybody who's brilliant and smart and compassionate is like, I have an idea. How can we create think tanks and eco centers and systems so we can support each individual's idea? And then this is harmonious with the planet, harmonious with others, harmonious with everything. And that's it.
Yep.
Simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now, unfortunately, I got to run, Orion, to last day of school. Woohoo!
Yeah. I was gonna say I gotta go, but thank you so much for coming here, dude. Such a pleasure. We're gonna have you. We're going to have you again. We're probably going to do like 50. We didn't even touch on the boards. We could do a whole podcast on here. I'm going to go on your screen. On every single board behind you, we've had some amazing talks. So this is just the beginning, but we want to make sure we have the project, because that's there. But the philosophy, the energy. Yeah. All of that stuff is soon to come. So thank you so much, my friend. Awesome. I will probably see you later and give you a big hug.
Very cool. Aloha.
Peace, brother. Love you. Bye.
Cheers.